I'm going to hand to our first speaker, which is Melanie. Melanie, do you want to just take it away?
Sure. Thank you, Stephanie. And it's really neat to see people from all over the world here. So I'm going to give you a quick demo of the Bird Migration Explorer. We just released this on September 15th. It's a free public website. And the first thing you'll see when you come to the homepage is a map showing you tracks from 9,300 individual birds. These tracking data come from hundreds of different studies and show us the paths that birds take when they migrate across the Americas. I can hover over this map and see which individual species made each of these different journeys. And if I go ahead and click through, then it'll take me to learn more about that species migration. There are three main things you can do with the Explorer. You can look up a bird species, a location, or a conservation challenge. So we'll get started by looking up a species. You're able to just sort of thumb through here to find something interesting, or you can filter to find something specific, or you can just type something into the search bar. So I'm looking for the Swainson's hawk. This will take me to their full annual cycle map, showing me where they go throughout the Americas over the course of the year. And what you're seeing are tracks in yellow from 86 individual birds from 4 different tracking studies. Then in the background, I can pause this timeline and zoom in and take a closer look at these data. So these brown dots come from eBird status models, and we summarize those into these hexagons to show relative abundance. And this is for each week of the year. So if I click play again, you'll just see the abundance has changed, and eventually those Swainson's hawks disappear as they're heading further south. The data also come in 2 resolutions. So if I zoom in far enough, you'll access a finer resolution of those data. A couple other things I want to point out. One is just this layers box where you can control which layers you're seeing and read more about each of them, but especially the data providers panel, because this is where you can see the list of citations for every study included in this particular map. And this data sources box is specific to every different map view in the Explorer. And then also just to mention this related stories section where you can read more about the species. So now we'll go out to locations. And this is where I can see how an area I'm interested in is connected to other places across the hemisphere. So I looked up Salt Lake City, Utah. This is using millions of bird re-encounter locations. And it's showing me all the places where tagged birds from Salt Lake City, Utah have been re-encountered across the hemisphere. I get a list of countries that I'm connected to. And I can explore this map to see which species connect me to different places. So down here in Panama, 5 tagged birds of 3 species flew between Salt Lake City and this area of Panama. And one of those is the Swainson's hawk. Now, the third piece is conservation challenges. These are 19 different hemispheric layers that show us the distribution of the human footprint and environmental changes across the hemisphere. So I'm just going to scroll through and let you see what we've included. These are not all of the major threats to migratory birds, but they are the ones that we were able to map at a hemispheric extent. So I'll go back up to agriculture. And each of these maps is going to show you the footprint across the hemisphere. So this is the footprint of agriculture. We're able to see how extensive it is and where it's more intense as well. Like the other maps, I'm able to zoom in and access a finer resolution of data. And then if I select a location, it'll give me a list of species. And what this list shows me are species that are relevant to agriculture and co-occur with agriculture in this place that I selected. So I'm going to go down this list and back to the Swainson's hawk again. Here we go. Okay, so now this is going to combine the two pieces you've already seen, the distribution of Swainson's hawks over the course of the year and the footprint of agriculture. And it's going to then play this so you can see where Swainson's hawks are exposed to agriculture as they migrate. Now let me pause the map and zoom in a little so you can see it closer. We've just combined these two elements. So the dot size, just like on the migration map, that's how many Swainson's hawks. And then the color this time is how many of them are exposed to agriculture. And that's done with a 3-kilometer analysis that's then summarized up into these larger areas. So I think that's all I have time for. Just the last thing I'll say is this big orange take action button and this one down here. This is where you can go to get involved, sign up to learn more about migratory birds and the threats that they face. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Melanie. David, do you want to, your question matches one of my questions. Do you want to jump in?
Yeah, sure, happy to. So I just thought like your data viz was all really, really like cool and well put together. And so I'm just wondering if you could briefly talk about kind of how that got kind of conceptualized and designed. Were you like working with an outside firm to do all the design work? Kind of how did that go down?
Yeah, sure. Well, so the cartography was largely in-house at Audubon, National Audubon Society. My team, we worked a lot on prototyping how we could accurately depict the data and also make it hopefully, nice to look at and interesting and informative, and really try to blend all those needs together. And then the overall application design, that was done by a firm called Postlight. And we also worked with Blue Raster. They did the back end data engineering. They took all of the data that we processed and published it to make it available to the application. So it was a Postlight, Blue Raster, Audubon triangle to make all of that. And it's all built on Esri technology. They were part of it all through as well.
Julian, do you want to ask your question?
Sure. Yeah, my question really is about is the data going to stay current? Like, are you going to get new data? And then if you do, how do you get that? And how much effort is it to put that data in?
Sure. Getting data sharing agreements in place was a massive effort. And you probably noticed those founding partners listed at the bottom. Those are the major founding partners. The data sets like bird banding and eBird, they come from a single place, a huge database, one owner, but the tracking data came from hundreds of individuals that we have a data sharing agreement with each one. So that was a very long and intense effort. And now that we have those in place, we have the ability to pull the most current data and keep pushing that into the Explorer. So some of those are on an annual timeline like eBird or the US Geological Survey's bird banding data. Those are on an annual timeline. The tracking data, we think we will update that every quarter. And then a lot of new studies will come online, and we'll work with new tracking data holders to try to get additional data sets in there.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Melanie.